Hi everyone. I know it's been a while since my last liver update, but if you haven't heard, I got a liver. So I just wanted to share with you my story on how I got the call. Let's go back to Friday, May 9th. I had my 6-month checkup at the NYU liver office. So went. There wasn't really much of an update on where they were in the living donor process. More so that I would be the topic of their conversation on Monday and that they would call me back, and just that I was doing okay, and that was all. So I left there. I didn't know how to feel after that. I was like, all right, let's see what happens on Monday. Monday, they call me back, and my doctor tells me that her and the transplant surgeon spoke with the whole board and the team, and that they were ready to officially list me on the nationwide donor list. So I agreed. I called Joe. He said, yep, let's do it. So we both thought, all right, if they're listing me, then maybe they are close and they just can't share the details as of yet. So as of Monday, May 12th, I was officially listed on the nationwide list. The next few days, I got calls from multiple teams there: infectious disease, the pharmacy, financial, every team member that works in that office. Just going over all the details. Thursday, May 15th at 4:53 p.m. My liver coordinator, Emily, calls me and she's talking to me and everything. She's like, I just sent you the letter stating that you are officially registered on the list for a liver. And the letter itself was dated that Thursday, May 15th. She sent it over to me, so I had a copy of it. I said, okay. So right before we hung up, I asked her, I said, what is one pack for a liver transplant for the hospital? What goes in my hospital bag? She said, think of maternity minus the baby stuff. But the most important thing is just get yourself to the hospital. So I said, okay, I could do that part. She's like, everything else, don't even worry about. I said, okay. Hung up with her, and that was it. I think at 4:57, Jess calls me from California, FaceTimes me. I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner. The kids and mom just got home from school, so they were still in their uniforms. We're just talking and catching up, and all of a sudden this random number comes in calling me on my phone. I swipe up, I decline it. I'm like, they'll leave a message if it's urgent. I don't know the number or the name. I said, okay. I can't remember if they called back and if I declined again. But then Joe calls me. He FaceTimes me. I did the same thing. I swiped up and and declined his call. I'm about to text him. I'm like, I'm on the phone with Jess. I'll call you back. Before I could even finish typing, he calls Rose's phone on FaceTime, yelling and screaming, get me your mother. Hurry up, hurry up. And I'm like, what is going on? He's like, why'd you decline that number? Call them back. They just called me. I go, who is it? He's like, they have a liver. It's Dr. Grace Mears, coordinator at the hospital. I said, what? He's like, they have a liver. Get in the car. Get to the hospital now. Call the number first. So I call the number. We're all talking. I hang up with Jess. Joe's listening in. Mom's there, the kids. And he's like, we have your perfect match. It is a deceased donor. And how long will it take you to get to the hospital? I said 5 o'clock, rush hour traffic from northern New Jersey. Closer to 2 hours. He goes, get in the car now. I said, okay, we're on the way. Joe stayed at work since he was already in the city. He was at his station. He's like, I'll meet you at the hospital. Said, okay. We call my brother. I'm screaming, probably in panic mode on the phone. They have a liver. I'm on the way to the hospital. I tell him the whole story. He's like, all right, I'll meet you there. We all arrive within 10 minutes of each other to the hospital. There was, of course, a lot of traffic. So Joe tells me he was the first one there. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? He said there was a big SUV that pulled up, lights and pretty much sirens on. And I'm reading the truck because it wasn't a police truck, FDNY, nothing. He goes, it was a human organ donor truck. He asked the guy when he got out of the car, he goes, what are the chances you have a liver in there? And the guy goes, yeah, why? He goes, I think that's my wife's liver. He looked at Joe and he said, good luck with everything, and rushed the liver inside. We can't confirm that that was my liver exactly, but that's what happened when Joe pulled up. We get into the hospital. We go to check in. I said, I'm here. I got the call. They have my liver. I'm ready for my transplant. Unfortunately, the kids were not allowed upstairs. They had to stay downstairs, and only 2 people were allowed upstairs with me. So Joe and my mom went up first. They got me into a room. Within 2 seconds, there was an army of doctors and nurses coming in left and right, running tests, doing blood work, trying to put IVs, x-rays, EKGs, and so on. So many tests that I couldn't keep up. Like I said, that it was just doctor after doctor after nurse after nurse coming in. Mom swapped out with George. George came up, listened to everything at that point as well. George said goodbye. He said, I'll be here tomorrow. I'll see you after. I said, okay, love you, goodbye. He went downstairs. Mom came up one more time before she was leaving home with the kids. Kissed me goodbye, said, I'll see you tomorrow. I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Around 9:45, 10 o'clock, they're like, we're ready for you. Get in the wheelchair. I was like, oh, okay. Got in the wheelchair. Joe was holding my hand. We went up. The doctor came out. Dr. Gracemeyer came out, spoke with both of us. He's like, we have your perfect match. Let's do this. I said, all right, let's do it. Kissed Joe goodbye, said, I'll see you later. And that was it. They wheeled me into the operating room. I got up, I laid down on the table. I'm just looking around. I was like, wow, this is the biggest operating room I've ever been in. Taking it all in, and I think that's when it officially hit me that I was having my transplant surgery, that there was a liver right there on the table waiting for me. I remember a few tears coming down, and then I guess they saw that and the lights went out. They were prepping me for surgery. The official transplant surgery started on Friday, May 16th at 12:03 a.m. and lasted till about 9 a.m., a little before. And then I was woken up. I was asking for Joe. Where's Joe? Looking around. Where's my mom? Where's my brother? But where's Joe? That was my main, I needed him there with me. He said, we'll let him in soon. I don't remember much more. I was kind of in and out of it still, but they let him in. I remember seeing him. He was holding my hand, and I was crying, and I was just happy to see him. And that I woke up with a new liver. I didn't think I was going to say that, but I did. I woke up with a new liver inside of me. To this day, I still pray, and I always will, for my donor. I found out later on, all I could share with you is the liver that I was given 2/3 of the liver. The other third of the liver was given to a 1-year-old that was born with the same liver disease I was, biliary atresia. So what are the chances this one liver saved both of our lives, both biliary atresia patients? So of course I was hysterical crying when I heard that. I still tear up to this day just thinking about it. I think of that boy, that baby, I don't know if it was a boy or girl, very, very frequently. And pray for them as well. And like I said, for my donor, will always have a piece of my heart, and their family. But I spent the next 8 days in the hospital, some in the NICU, in the ICU, and some in the regular room, and then was discharged the 8 days later, and have been home recovering since. I'm doing much better now. It was a rough start. Those first 2 weeks were hard, I'm not gonna lie. But I'll fill you in more on that later. But that's my story on how I got the call for my liver. I'll forever be grateful. And thank you to all of you. I'm gonna keep posting on here, so any questions, comments, just write them and I'll answer them as I can. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll be in touch soon. Take care.